Hello, good evening. It's Tuesday night, Tuesday the 11th of October 2022. Now, you're about to see a video containing 4 locomotives, and basically what we're going to be doing is comparing old and new locomotives. So what you're going to see is a Hornby King, albeit heavily modified, from the 1970s, combined with the latest full fat King. Then you're going to be seeing a Mainline Collett Goods, which comes from the 1970s, compared with the Hornby Peckett from the present day. Again, the Hornby Peckett's a fully detailed locomotive, but I thought it might be a nice idea for me to get some of my older locomotives out and then also compare them. So we're sort of doing a Loco's old and new video. Now, when you come into this video later, I'd actually mentioned about the carriages, and I did miss a little bit there when I was actually recording. I forgot to mention about the carriages. Now, the carriages you've got there on the actual track there are all either coaches I bought in the 1990s, or they're Hornby Railroad coaches from the present day. And they're all basically very, very similar to each other, apart from small minor differences. So I think the railroad ones have got the handles picked out and a slightly different detail, but basically it's the same coaches. But what I was going to mention about those coaches when we go into the video, I forgot to mention, was the advantages of the coaches, and that's that they are a little bit shorter. And so on my little 6 foot by 4 foot layout, they fit in those sidings beautifully. Okay, so now obviously I forgot to mention that later on, so I thought I'd actually put this in now at the beginning of the video before we start. Now, I hope you enjoy watching the video, and if you like what you see, press that like button, and also subscribe, and ring that bell, and also select for the to see all content. That way you'll be made aware of any future videos. Now, I will be producing another video later once I've received another locomotive. It's going to be a bit of a surprise for you, a bit of a curveball, okay? So look that one up later. If you ring that bell, you'll be made aware of when I actually produce that video, okay? Now, I hope you enjoy watching this video, and if you just bring me just a moment, sorry, just something distracted me then. Okay, so I'm just going to stop this now, and then we're going to get on with actually showing you the video. I hope you enjoy watching. Okay, so thank you very much. Hello, good evening, and welcome to my humble model railway, Bedstead Junction. Now tonight, you're going to see 2 of the very, very earliest purchases I made in my model railway hobby, and you're going to see 2 of the very, very latest purchases which I made. And you might think this is an unfair comparison, but I'd say not really, because as I've always said when I've been showing you locomotives, everything that's on this that I use on this layout has got merits. And we'll talk about the merits of this particular locomotive as we go round, and we'll talk a little bit about the history of this locomotive, how I came about it, okay, why I bought it, and when I bought it. Okay, so away we go. Get some speed up now, and away we go. Now, this is a Hornby King, and it's a tender driven locomotive. It's in BR livery, early crest, with a double chimney, and it's King Edward I. Now, some of you who may be looking at know a little bit about the history of Hornby models will know that the actual Hornby model as produced by Hornby of King Edward I looked nothing like this, okay? I'll show you it looked nothing like this. And we'll talk about some of the differences in just a moment. Now, a tender power is running very, very smoothly. And I bought this in about in the early 1990s. for a modern railway shop called Chains of Bristol. Long closed, sadly, long closed, but probably it gives you some idea what what some of these modern railway shops are like. I mean, Bristol is really down to about one modern railway shop as far as I know, and that's Antics in the Bristol town centre, and that's a general model shop. It isn't just dedicated to railways. Worth a visit though, because they've got a nice window display and everything else, and they are tempting me to go down there and get something, which I'll show you if I do get it. But this here came from Chains of Bristol. Now this locomotive and the Collett Goods we're going to see in a few moments' time, they were both owned by, I believe that they were both owned by the same person. Now they were both being heavily modified from Great Western livery into BR livery, and there were a number of other modifications made as well to this locomotive. Now this is tender driven with the Ringford motor, and I mean, I've got to be honest with you, yeah, I mean, it runs beautifully. You may see a slight judder on the tender maybe, but that's probably because the traction tyre is a bit old. If I change the traction tyre, I wouldn't get that. I mean, you probably can't even see it, but yeah, it's running beautifully, nice and smoothly. Very powerful, I mean, you know, very powerful, like a King should be. Now, the original King Edward I was in Great Western Railway livery, and it also had a single chimney. Now, this person's heavily modified this. I mean, as far as I'm aware, the modification made, change the chimney to a double chimney, painted it in BR green livery, removed the Great Western identity from the tender, and gave it a crest, the early BR crest, and also lamps were added to this, and also other details, like the braking water scoop handles were added to the tender. I think they were probably just moulded on the original models, but it might have been just moulded on. I did own the original King Edward I, but I did swap it for some carriages many years ago. But this is King Edward I, and I bought it in BR livery. Now, this actually languished for many years in my attic because of circumstances, family circumstances, other circumstances. You know, life gets in the way sometimes. And I rejoined this hobby at the beginning of the pandemic. Obviously, it couldn't go out anywhere, so what could I do? I don't know, I'll bring my chains down. And when I brought this down, this ran perfectly well. A little bit noisier, but I gave it a bit of oil on the motor, on the bearings, everything else. Got a little bit of TLC, and it's running perfectly well, as you can see. Nothing wrong with that at all. And in fact, if you didn't know this was tender driven, I mean, from the way it's running, I mean, I defy you to tell me what's different about the running of this. I just go around. I mean, it's really nice, really lovely. Model I can enjoy. Okay, some of the details. I mean, we'll be looking at the full Fat King from Hornby in a minute, but okay, the details are a little bit more robust, let's say. That's what they are. And bear in mind, this locomotive probably has been running since the 1970s. And it's still going today perfectly well. Now, we're going to run her in, and you wait to see what she's like over points. Absolutely perfect. So bear in mind, this is got the Ringford motor. It's from the 1970s. And really, I mean, if you'd like to gain an indication about how well these models can run. I mean, we're talking about vintage Hornby now, early Hornby. Have a look at Oscar Paisley's web channel. He runs a lot of the vintage Hornby and Triumph stuff on his layout, super layout, and as we can see, locomotives similar to these being showcased. Okay, so let's just bring you into the station. It was unboxed when I bought it, and it's basically running as well as, if not better, than the day I bought it. Here we go, in it comes. Over those points, no signs of clunking or anything else, no complaints with that. In we go, and perfectly controllable. There we go, into my siding here. Now you can see the two models more or less side by side. So that's the latest full fat King, you see there, sorry about the massive finger, and that's the early, for the 1970s, Hornby King there. Differences in detail, of course. The full fat King's probably got finer running gear and everything else. Very, very nice model. And in fact, that's what we're going to do now. I think what we'll do is we'll run the King. You can watch the full fat King running around now. Got a bit of sorry. Once I saw that, I couldn't unsee it. I mean, I gave this a little clean and wipe down, this model here, because it's kept out in the open really, and it's gets a bit dusty sometimes, but it's all been cleaned up. It looks quite nice. And here we go for the this is now the latest model King. So we're just going to do a quick change of points. Oops, sorry, just jolted the tripod there. Naughty. Okay. All my filming is sort of live as it's done, so you will get the odd kind of mishap. Hopefully nothing too disastrous. But here we go. I'm going to go into reverse. Now this is the full fat King. Now this, detail wise, there's no comparison. I mean, if you put this side by side to the King, the model of the King from the 1970s, there will be no comparison. But I enjoy, I enjoy all of my models, which I have. And this one here is a corker. This one here is a corker. Here we go. Now this I bought really recently, this particular model. King Edward VIII. I bought it online, so that's the difference, isn't it? Between I bought my original King from a model railway shop, second hand, unboxed. There it was in the display case. And this one came online from a dealer called the Model Railway Emporium. Okay, and it came all nice in good condition. And again, is a King in BR livery, and this is the later crest. So this is the crest which would have been carried between 1956 and when these were finally retired in 1962. Now, there are a certain number of Kings in preservation. King Edward I is one of them. I don't believe that Edward VIII was actually preserved. Whether or not a locomotive gets preserved is very much down to luck. Almost down to luck. And if they went to the Barry scrapyard, Di Woodham's, they languished for a long time waiting to be awaiting their final fate. And in fact they never met the fate because they were too busy cutting up wagons. But there we go, that's another story. But this is the very, very latest full fat King. Okay, fully detailed. So differences is you would not get a detailed cab on the early locomotives, but you did back in the 1970s. You were lucky to get all moulded and in black. Okay, this is all fully detailed cab, and this one obviously is directly as it would have been from Hornby. And I've literally not had to do anything to this locomotive at all. I mean, I always give them the usual oiling and everything else, you know. Then we take the body off and make sure the bearings on the motor are running dry, stuff like that. But this one runs perfect. It ran perfect straight out of the box. Absolutely beautiful. But I believe it's got the more modern 5-pole motor in it. Very, very nice runner. But in many ways you can see the similarities between the old model and the new model. I would run this with every confidence. Never felt like there was anything like this to drop off or anything like that. And in fact this is an indication that Hornby are still very, very much a force in railways, in my opinion. Yes, I mean Hornby can get things wrong occasionally, so can all manufacturers. Won't go too much into that. But when Hornby gets something right, boy do they ever get it right. And in my opinion they got it right with this particular model, which we're enjoying going around here. It's got the lining on it. And you can see this one came out of the box with the double chimney, whereas the other King didn't. So it's got the lovely copper chimney. Double chimney, they were fitted with double chimneys for two reasons. One was to increase performance, and also it was so that the locomotives could run on lower quality coal, I believe. But this is the King in its final kind of Super King configuration. And at the time of withdrawal, I mean, I believe looking through the history and everything else, some of the Kings had done huge mileages, and they were they were ready for replacement by about 1962. Unfortunately, I think they'd done many years of good service. Of course, these were replaced by the warships and the westerns, but of course there are still Kings in preservation, and I do believe that there's a King preserved at the National Railway Museum. Now, beautiful. Watch it. We enjoy this going around just a little bit now, and we'll be moving on to another locomotive quite shortly. Now, we're going to run the two in. Put them side by side. Now, bear in mind that the other Hornby locomotive, King of the First, was not as Hornby would have produced it. Okay, that was actually done by somebody. Someone had to make his model like this involved hours of work to produce a BR locomotive, whereas this one came straight out of the box. Okay, so I think probably going back in the day, back in the 1970s, I should imagine that people could only dream of models like this in many ways, but there's a lot to be said for these older Hornby models as well as the new ones. This one's absolute beauty. I mean, in my opinion, a corker. There we go. Let's watch it go through there now before we run in. And we're going to have a little bit of a surprise quite shortly. if anybody's interested, now I don't have the order number for the original King, but obviously the King as it was back then, you could not buy a King like that as far as I know. At the time when King Edward I, you couldn't certainly get King Edward I in that livery like I just showed you. But this is the King is our 3332. We are a late King class King Edward VIII 6029. There, as we can get a focus on that for you. There we are, so that's what we can see going round now. Lovely representation of it on the box there, beautiful, gives you an idea about what to expect in the box. Beautiful, and on the back, you get all the history and everything else. 8p, my goodness. These are the most powerful 460s on the British railways, and in fact, I do believe that they're amongst the most powerful locomotives in Britain also. Now I'm going to bring this one in just a moment, and then we're going to show the two side by side. Now you might think to yourself about these coaches, very very similar, aren't they? I'm going to put them side by side, and I'll explain to you about where I got the coaches from, because it may be a bit of an eye-opener for you. And I'll explain to you what some people may regard to be a disadvantage, and I will then explain to you why I believe these coaches have got an enormous advantage. And here we go. Let's just bring the train in now to the station. And again, we're going to see how well this locomotive goes over points. I mean, this is one of my tests. If you're going to be running a layout of any level of sophistication, I mean, mine is a fairly straightforward layout, 6 feet by 4 feet. You know, and I think I've probably crammed in about as much as anyone humanly can on such a layout. There we go, over the points beautifully there, and gliding elegantly into the station there. And again, absolute perfect control there. Now you can see the two together now. So one of my very very earlier purchases. I mean, things like I think the vacuum pipes have been changed and painted on here. The added lamps there, I don't know if you see the lamps, probably not. He changed the livery, but that's the very very early King. This is the very very latest full fat King. Both, in my opinion, beautiful models with merits of their own. Absolutely lovely. Now we're going to be moving on now up to the water goods shed up there on our branch line station. Now we change of points, and I'm going to explain to you how I came about these other models as well. Okay, so we just bear with just a few moments and be ready to get underway. Now let's take a look now and see. Here it comes, out to the station. Over those points, no problem at all. So imagine that's a little 060 locomotive here. No pickups in the tender. You didn't get that back in the 1970s when this one was made. And away we go. Over those points once again. And round here now. You can see it going over this junction as well here now. No stuttering, no stalling, no problem. Okay. From a little 060 with no pickups in the tender. In fact, this is what they call a split chassis locomotive. and the current really goes through the one side of the axle. The axle's insulated in the middle. Current goes up through one side of the chassis, through the motor and back down the other side of the chassis. Both sort of split in half, the chassis is what's called a split chassis. And a nice little locomotive. It's 3205, so it's the last 060 Collett Goods in existence. And I do believe that it's not in commission at the moment, so it's waiting some repairs. But when I bought this model, the actual locomotive 3205 Collett Goods was actually running on the West Somerset Railway. And that's what it persuaded me to look out for this and to buy it. Now at the time I was modelling BR livery, so Great Western BR sort of livery. And this is another locomotive that's been changed from Great Western livery into BR livery. And this is why I believe that this locomotive was owned by the same person as the owner of the early Hornby King. So it's made by Mainline. Mainline would have stopped production in 1984, so it's many years old, and I do believe that these were actually produced in the 1970s. They're not, this one wasn't boxed when I bought this. As a matter of fact, well, I will admit I've given this one a quick wash and scrub up before I ran it on the railway, because I do leave it out on a shelf. So it does need the odd dusting off every now and again. Thanks, it's running perfectly well. Now, what are the advantages of these split chassis locomotives? Right, okay. I'll start by saying this. When I got this locomotive down from the attic after my long break from on the railways, it was going around the layout and giving out clouds of smoke. And believe you me, it was making absolute clouds of smoke. Then it would run, and run well, and then it would stop a little bit and make more smoke. I thought, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, this one's doomed, you know, it is doomed. But it wasn't. And the advantage of split chassis locomotive is there are no wires in here. Now, all I had to do was to take the motor completely to pieces, give it a good spray with contact cleaner, clean it all up, reassemble it, new bushes and springs, good little lube and a bit of TLC. You'll see it running around the layout now, as good as new. Okay, so I don't know how many of today's models would survive going up in smoke in such a spectacular fashion. Okay, like I say, it's been converted from Great Western livery to BR livery, and in fact it's got the Great Western early crest on it, the same as we would find on the on my older Ringford powered King. But it's got a lovely representation of the copper cap chimney there. The tenders always look quite big up to the locomotives, but that's quite fine. This must be a very, very early model, because usually mainline models come with like a kind of a plastic pod motor. Well, this motor is actually made out of metal. The construction inside is exactly the same. In fact, the brush and springs are the same really, and they fit quite an easy change over, aren't they? Quite easy to work on. I mean, these aren't bad. I mean, once you've got over the fact that of the differences, they might be a bit of a challenge to transfer over to DCC. No, I know people have done that. Okay. It's also putting what was originally a mainline coach. I mean, this one's branded as a replica railways coach, right there, a Collett coach, and it's but really is the same as a mainline. Replica railway coach and mainline coaches are identical. In fact, when Palatoy, the parent company, decided to stop being involved in the modern railway industry, the manufacturers in Hong Kong carried on. It was intended, first of all, that they would carry on with a British company called Replica Railways, and there are a number of locomotives in rolling stock out there produced by them. But then it was decided then for more international, to go for more of an international market, they would call themselves Bachmann, and in fact then the actual manufacturers in Hong Kong carried on as Bachmann, and that's the Bachmann we know and love today. As you see, running around very, very well. Just need the brushes and springs. It's still running in. I mean, it's still a little bit stiff from having the new brushes and springs and everything else. It's almost like a brand new locomotive, really. Internally now, all cleaned up inside, all lubed up. What a lovely little model. And again, it came from the sadly now closed trains of Bristol. And it was not boxed when I bought this. Now, the grand finale in just a moment. I think we're going to overrun the time on this camera, so we're going to be relying on the editing software a little bit. Okay, but then, you know, that's not a problem. Not with. I bought a new computer now, and it's a lot more speedy. Lucky I was able to afford that. We'll bring this lovely little main line into the station in just a moment. Now I'll bring it around on his lap of honour. There we go. Through the level crossing now. I think that's quite a nice little shot that now on that level crossing. Let's slow her down to toward the junction. Change the point. And we'll watch it go pulling into the halt. These would pull either goods or passenger trains, so very, very versatile little locomotives. In fact, I do believe that 3205 was actually seen on the Somerset in Dorset. I mean, once the Somerset in Dorset was taken over by the Western Region of British Rail, a number of Collett Goods locomotives were actually transferred over to the Somerset in Dorset Highbridge branch. Now, the very, very last locomotive, the grand finale, and we've got something new as well, which we shall show you. A new purchase. Now, just see if I settle these points. Okay, right now then, my movie recording time has come to an end, and so what we've done now is we've restarted. So I was just in the middle of actually getting this one out of the station over here, the goods shed, putting a goods train today, this locomotive. So let's watch it go over the points. We can see the whole train going over the points now. Watch it reversing over my junction here, perfectly well. Now, this is a very, very special locomotive, but one of the wagons on here is very, very special too. Now, you might think it's a little bit early to be showing this, but I've just bought it. I thought you might want to see it, just in case you wanted one for Christmas. Okay, a Christmas gift suggestion for someone, either for yourself or one of your loved ones. Okay, but let's go round first. Now, this is a Hornby Port of Bristol Authority Henry. It's more than one of the recent models by Hornby, and again, this is a statement I'll make now. When Hornby get it right, boy do they get it right. Whoa ho, the superb locomotive. A lot of die cast involved in it, and it's a 060 Peckett, like I say, Port of Bristol Authority Henry. Really nice model. Now, they cost about £100, I believe. Well, it cost me about that much. And you may say, well, that's a lot of money for a small saddle tank locomotive. But for what you get crammed inside of this locomotive, the quality, oh boy, is it worth it. Really is. Got all the detail you want, and it feels really, really well put together, in my opinion. Really, really nice. Now, you see on the back of there, and we'll have a look in a moment. Oh, and because it's boxed, we can see what we're looking at. Pardon me. Our 3871 Bristol Docks Peckett B2 Henry, number 1264. Okay, so you can see go around there now. B2 Henry. DCC ready, so we'll take a DCC decoder. It's put in a variety of rolling stock. I think it's a Dapple Saxa Salt Wagon, a Lima Watney's Beer Wagon. Those of you who are like me are old enough to remember drinking in the 1970s and 80s will probably remember Watney's very, very well. Watney's Red Barrel and things like that. Anyway, that's a Watney's wagon. Then there's a wagon I bought. I left it in the cupboard and I just found out why actually. Someone's actually put a weight in it. I mean, I bought this second hand, but someone's actually put a weight in it. That's Turner & Sons wagon there. That's Hornby. And then the wagon just before the brake van is the wagon we're about to talk about. Okay. Now I don't want the wagon to overshadow the locomotive or vice versa, but we're just going to this now. Now this is a beautiful locomotive here. I mean, this is an example really of what, in my opinion, what a modern railway locomotive should be looking like. Okay, from a view from above. I'm not going to change the tripod too much. A lot of die cast in it, loads of detail. Feels solid, in my opinion, feels quite solidly made. I mean, me personally, I'm not afraid to take this out of the box. Lovely, covered in detail, beautiful. Okay. So we'll just bring it along a little bit further. You can see the, sort of, pardon my hand getting in the way there. See my hand coming into view. Hello. Okay, right, we've got a Saxa Salt Wagon there. The Watney's Beer Wagon. We're running very, very close to the controller now. So, well, I thought it might be the best way to see these. Turner & Sons Wagon. No, here we go. Now we're on it. This is the Hornby 2022 Christmas Wagon, okay? Might be a nice little present for a loved one there. Covered in festive stuff. Teddy, I got a little Teddy riding around there. Got a various presents and candy stick, I think is in there somewhere. Candy cane. Trumpet just there. Let's zoom in a bit, shall we? Let's we can zoom right in. Oh, there we go. That gives you some idea. There we are. Hornby Christmas 2022. An ideal gift for you and your loved one. I don't work for Hornby. Now I saw this. A shout out to AD Pullen. Okay, I know it's coming out towards the end of the video, but he actually did a review of this. So if you want a more detailed review about certain things, that might be just the place for you to go for that. But you can see, it looks beautiful, doesn't it? It looks really festive. I mean, you might say, well, it's October a bit early to be running this. Well, in my opinion, it should be Christmas every day, shouldn't it? I mean, let's be honest about it. And let's have a quick look and we'll just see. Our 60074 7-plank wagon, Christmas 2022. Let me get that focus on there. Get a focus in for you. There we go. Go on, focus. That's it. Christmas 2022. About £20 you get these for. Nice bit of fun for Christmas, isn't it? Beautiful. And then, last but not least on this train, bring it around a bit more. We'll zoom out a little bit now. That's a Batman brake van on the back there. Very, very nice little model too. Okay, so round we go. Now, for such a little small 060. Let's go back around here onto the zoom out just a little bit, because we do got a bit out of focus when we get zoom in too much. Okay, this is basically a shunter wagon. I should imagine it could be used on small freight trains as well. It was used as a shunter in Port of Bristol Authority, and apparently it was actually really sort of overloaded all the time and basically run into the ground, really. That's another story. But Port of Bristol Authority had quite an extensive rail network. In fact, I've also got the Port of Bristol Authority Sentinel locomotive. Even though that's not on show tonight, that's one that I could recommend myself on my experience. But this is Henry going around now, towing our Saxon Salt wagon, Watney's Beer wagon, Turner and Sons wagon, the Hornby Christmas 2022 wagon, and the Batman, and last but not least, the Batman brake van. And you can see it's running quite slow. I mean, for a shunter should be going quite slow, shouldn't it? But this one has no problem going over points in my experience anyway. Now I can only talk about my own personal experience. Okay, and you know, and what I can only really give you my own personal experience, to say, repeat myself there, but and I can actually show you. And when I, a lot of the time, it would be an opinion of mine, but I can actually show you as well, give you a live demonstration of why I believe my opinion to be true. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run this one into the station. I'm going to wrap things up a little bit tonight. Now, if you like what you see, please press the like button, subscribe, ring that bell, and go for all contents. Okay, so you can be made aware of all my new videos. I will have a locomotive arriving. I've only just ordered it today. Okay, it's a second-hand locomotive, and in many ways you might say it's a pardon me. Is one which would be on a lot of people's layouts, but from this layout's point of view, it might be a bit of a curveball for you. Okay, but when it comes, okay, I will show it to you. Okay, and we'll have a look at it as it runs out of the box and everything else. I say it's going to be a second-hand locomotive. It's going to be an oldie, but hopefully a goodie. Okay, so we'll be showing to that too soon. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll do a little bit of recap as to what we've got over here now. So over in the far corner, right over in the far corner there, behind the, ahead of the maroon coach there, is the lovely Mainline Collett Goods. The Hornby Full Fat King, plus heavily modified Hornby King from the 70s or 1980s, okay. And then the lovely Peckett B2, which is about to come into the station now. So let's watch her go into the station here. We got the point set. We have now. And watch her go in. Okay. Over those points perfectly well. A locomotive that I would happily recommend all day long. Okay. So what I was saying now is thank you very, very much for your interest. And for those of you, thank you very much for those of you who have actually stuck to the end and be with me now at this point. Okay. And I should bid you farewell and good night.